All right, we are on episode 3 of the PRing Life podcast, and today we got a couple topics going back to kind of where we're from and a couple other things going on in our daily lives right now. So, first thing I want to ask is, we know you're from Woodstock, Georgia, but what did Georgia look growing up like? What was kind of your background? What did you like doing, and how was like high school, kind of things like that for you?
Yeah, man. So my parents are both from Cameroon in Africa. So they came over. My dad lived in like DC. Thank God I didn't live in DC, dude. I hate the cold. But then finally moved over to Woodstock. So grew up in a little suburb, chilling. Yeah, just play a lot of sports. Soccer growing up, and then basketball, like I touched on. But yeah, high school was cool, man. I was always just kind of someone who was friends with everybody. So I honestly just love talking to people, man. Just like getting to know people and moving around different groups. So yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, dude, that's one thing I've like noticed about you. Just like super good at like talking to people.
I appreciate it.
Enjoy it. You can tell you could just like enjoy meeting new people. That's
sure.
like one of the reasons when I like had this idea and like came to you, I figured like go super well, and that's something I'm looking forward to. Like to one, getting guests, and two, when we have guests, I feel like we have two people who can conversate really well
For sure.
and like ask those value driven questions to these people.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Well, that's sick. And so I guess I grew up probably 30 minutes away from you.
Yeah.
So I was in Suwanee, Georgia. So I grew up, born in Indiana, moved to New York, and then really grew up my whole life in Georgia. Kind of played baseball. Baseball was kind of like, I played a bunch of sports up until probably about 10, 11 U, and then I played baseball for the majority. Trying, like, that was my goal. That was what I was set on. I think I touched on that in our first podcast.
Yep.
And then that kind of went awry. And so kind of when I got to high school, I was cool with everyone, but I was kind of like so dialed in when I started playing golf.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't hang out with a ton of people, but it was also like I had my couple good friends, and then other people were just kind of acquaintances in and out.
Yeah.
And I think growing up kind of like in that high school, just kind of like focusing on golf. I was close to the golf team too.
Of course.
So that's where I was focused.
Yeah.
And then kind of COVID hit, and I don't know, like I knew I wasn't gonna play golf anymore, and that's when this kind of fitness journey, everything for me took off. It was like I started working out, knew I wasn't gonna play golf. Yeah. COVID hit, and so I was already hitting the gym for about 2 months, and I was kind of showing up like not late, but I was showing up to practice a little later than I showed because I was lifting. Like that was the number one thing to me because I already knew golf wasn't in my future, but I knew lifting was a part of my future because it just provided me with joy. It started providing me with confidence that I hadn't quite built up in the years before that. And so that kind of sparked kind of my love for like fitness, but back then it was more lifting. And then it kind of has just driven into fitness in general. Yeah. So that's when that kind of started in COVID. Then I started lifting in my basement every day.
Oh,
whatever.
Really?
It was sweet. Yeah, I had like a little barbell. Just doing what I could.
Good shit.
Because, but yeah, so Georgia as a whole, I'd say we can kind of touch on the culture of Georgia, but I'd say people are friendly. It's Southern company.
Yeah, man, for sure.
We didn't grow up in Atlanta. Like, that's what you got to get is when you're people say from Atlanta. If you ever meet someone from Georgia, a lot of people will say from Atlanta. And being from Atlanta is a lot different than being from Woodstock or Suwanee. And so I'm from Suwanee, Georgia. People ask me where I'm from. I'm 45 minutes north of Atlanta because living in a suburb in Suwanee is not the same as living in Atlanta, and I'll be sure to like say that because it's
dude, and it's it's funny because like Atlanta's the only place people know, so you got to use that as a point of reference. But yeah, it's completely different vibes, completely different like scenery, even,
lifestyles.
Yeah, dude, completely different. So. It's good that you make that distinction. I just kind of say I'm from 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, if you know what it is,
And even I guess talking city life, right now we're living in you're downtown Tampa.
Yeah.
I'm Soho, Tampa.
Yeah.
And so it's like even just that, like downtown Tampa and downtown Atlanta are nothing alike.
Completely different.
Nothing alike. And then I'm 10 minutes away from where you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a whole different vibe too.
Yeah, low key.
And then you could go to Hyde Park, which is a whole nother vibe. And it's like, Tampa really is like, I guess Florida in general, I can't speak for the state of Florida, but in my time in Tampa, it's just like, I don't know, it feels like it has everything. And it feels like kind of, as we've talked about, it's like a place where everyone's into like lifestyle things. Everyone's into fitness.
Yep.
Everyone's kind of just like fit, tan, and ready to do whatever.
That's fact. No, for real, dude. I think that's the biggest difference. I think coming from, for me, Athens, like, I mean, it's a huge party school, right? So everyone there they're either really committed to school or they're really committed to party.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like it's a cool, environment to be in, but not one that's conducive to any long-term growth. So coming out here has been a nice breath of fresh air. Like everybody is just driven to whatever it is they want to do, you know what I mean? So I think this place has so many different things. It has a little bit of everything for everybody, so you can just kind of find your thing and just take off.
Yeah, for sure. And I can definitely relate as I went to like the University of Alabama. So same exact thing, same exact environment. It's I guess college in general, it's like there are the people who are locked into school, which
Yeah.
like good for them. I mean, and I guess in my time at school, it's like I would say I went to class, I got good grades. For me, I guess like when what I was doing in the school I attended, it wasn't ever too challenging. So I can't say I was like ever super locked in.
Yeah.
I had a good balance in college, and I would
Yeah.
get my lifts in. I would do that. I would have my priorities straight, but I was never like my thing with school is it always felt like I don't know unless you're going above and beyond in some sort of like business or different like facet of life. It's
Yep.
like it kind of felt like you were just waiting to get that degree,
Yep. That's it, man.
and
That's it.
that was the hardest thing. And it's like was trying to find that balance between I want to do more, I want to accomplish more, but I kind of feel like for me, I was getting A's in my classes, and I was like going to the gym. I was doing all this, and I was still going out like maybe once a week, probably on average,
Yeah.
which isn't a lot compared to a lot of other people. But it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but I'm getting everything done. I'm doing everything to my best, but I just felt there was always more, and I feel like now I'm in the spot where I'm like starting to finally work on the things I'm passionate about, where I'm like able to do that. And I could have done that at school.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes you don't see that vision until you get a change.
Yeah, dude, and it's because everyone there we're all on the same path that we've been, pushed down the whole time. You know what I mean? And I think you said something that I actually, went through as well. Like you're doing the same thing, right? But when you want to do extra, you remember like we're all just here for the degree. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas now you do a little bit extra, and there's actually a reward for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, school, man, it's a lot of people, I guess, now being out of school for 3 months and having a finance and econ degree. That's what I got out of school. And it's like, I look back as a financial analyst, and I would say I learned more in my first week of work than I learned in the 4 years of college.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's hard to say, but it's the
is.
truth. It is what it is because you're
Yep.
never going to be in that like real world scenario until you're there. And it's like
Yep.
as much as they want to teach you, they want to like whatever. It's like if you don't get good professors, one, you're not going to pay attention. You're not going to learn. If they don't resonate with you, you're not going to pick up anything.
No, that's facts.
And then you might learn something super useful, but say it comes sophomore year, you're not working for 3 more years. It's like a lot of people like people could have another year of school, another master's program. It's like you're going to have to relearn all that at some point. So my biggest thing was, hey, I'm doing well.
Yep.
I'm going to learn my biggest thing. I think the three biggest things you can take out of college are one, networking.
Yep.
Two, learning how to learn.
Yep.
And three, building good habits, like stacking habits and building those into your life.
For sure.
And then you want to like networking goes into like going out, enjoying your time with others because you're never going to have a time in your life like you do when you're in college.
Yep.
And that's the biggest thing I feel like I got to appreciate my senior year was just enjoying it to the max.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I took away from it was obviously networking. Like everyone there is going to be going down a different path, so you never know who you're going to meet. But I think discipline and just being protective of your time. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy to, like I said, everyone's there is just trying to have a good time. It's very easy to just fall into that and then forget about the other side, which is school, right? Because at the end, you want to get out with a degree. You don't want to just go there and not get that. You know what I mean?
With a degree and hopefully with a decent GPA.
Right, exactly. So I think learning the discipline of, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but I got to get done what needs to be done first. I think that definitely helped me out as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw it a ton. I was in a fraternity at Alabama, and so I would see the people come in, and they'd prioritize that the partying freshman year, which like it's kind of hard not to,
Yeah.
but it's like you'd see some kids come in and have just as much fun as the other kids, and they would go to classes, they'd do their homework, and they'd interact with these professors. And if you do those three things, I guarantee you, if you go to like a non-Ivy League school, you're gonna pass your class. Like you will pass your class if you do your homework, you go to class, and you study for your tests. Like those three things. But then I'd see the other side of the book where it's like the other kids who would just party, they do nothing. I'd see 0.0s for a semester. I'd see kids having to leave school, and this is all at a school where if you don't get a scholarship, you're paying a pretty hefty price, especially Georgia, especially Alabama. You're paying probably all in $40,000 a year, room and board plus tuition, and that's I don't know. It's like if you're paying for your own school, one, you want to take it seriously. For sure. Two, if your parents are paying for your school, I feel like you should definitely want to take that serious for them.
Can't let them down. I mean, they're sending you there obviously with a purpose, right? They don't want you to just go there and party. Obviously, our parents are all smart and they've all been young, but I mean, yeah, like that's a huge point because when you go there, whether you're paying for it or your parents pay for it, like in the back of your mind, like I'm not just here to mess around.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of just finding balance, which is going to be like one of the main points of this podcast is how do you find balance in life?
Yep.
Especially when there are so many things, and like you got to pick your priorities and then find that balance. Because if you spread yourself too thin, you're not going to make an effect anywhere in your life.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I've been focusing on, and even in college, like kind of finishing up this topic. But you see a lot of people like resumes are very important. Like, I would say resumes are almost more important than GPA and major because a lot of what you do extracurricular along with like internships kind of determines what you're going to do after school. And so you want to make sure not to spread yourself thin, but putting time into those things that seem like they might not matter, like club sports you're interested in or starting a club. Like starting a club looks great.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, whatever you're passionate about, if you have that chance to do that, I think it'd be super cool. I never got the chance, but on my resume, I worked at the rec center, which looks pretty good, working for the school.
Nice.
And then I worked with a group called Alice Pals, where we'd like kind of teach kids after school, like underprivileged kids, like skills and some like things like that. And I enjoyed that a lot. And then I was in a fraternity, and I had a couple of roles in there. Nothing big, but just those things add up along with a couple internships, and so.
Yeah, and I think it's different, like I think that's definitely something to be said for having the internships and working for the school and stuff like that. But for me, I always worked, right? So I just wanted to make sure that where I was working was going to be able to translate to where I was trying to go. You know what I mean? So I worked for Verizon selling phones for them for a little bit because I knew when I graduated, I want to be in sales, but maybe not doing that. So I was able to have that on my resume and speak to that. So I think that's something that people do get caught up in, especially in college, is like I have to have the picture perfect resume. I have to have the picture perfect internship. But I think there are so many different routes to getting where you want to go. It's just about figuring out what that looks like and actually doing it.
Yeah, and for you, like you did the best thing you possibly could have. Like you wanted to go into sales, you worked sales while you were at school, and that sets you up perfectly into that. And for me, it's like I forgot to mention I was in like a financial, like a asset management group, and so that set me up for finance. And it's like finding what kind of fits what you want to do is kind of the key.
And that's it, man. That's it.
Yeah, and so I guess moving on off of college, but I forgot.
No, we can go to actually I wanted to ask you. I've been wanting to ask you about this. So I know you're doing the 75 hard. You're actually doing it, and this is day 31 today, right?
Yeah, day 31.
Yep,
it's today. I finished it right before this episode with a 45-minute walk, and in between I hit some pull-ups, push-ups, whatever.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, man. Like now you've been doing it for a month. What are like the real pros, cons, differences that you've seen in yourself and how it's been going?
Yeah, so first things I want to say, I'll start with like the positives. So positives, one, I'm also training for a half marathon, so like that's in consideration. But I would say I'm in arguably the best shape of my life. So I would say arguably I feel the best like physically, just like what I'm eating, what I'm putting into my body. It's like I feel the best I have just because I'm eating better foods. Like I've always loved sweets.
Yeah,
that's been something that there's a balance to it. It's like you want to have sweets to enjoy life. Like you want to have those once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. But I would sometimes get to the point where like I eat like a pack of cookies, like not a night, but like when I did eat them, it wasn't a balance.
Right.
And so now it's like I'm on the other end, but I'm in the best shape of my life, and also discipline. It's like one thing I don't like doing is reading.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of reading. I do like reading like self-improvement books, but I would never make the time before this challenge, right?
Hell yeah.
So having this have to read 10 pages, I've read the David Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me. Really good book, awesome story, and pretty motivating. And then right now I'm reading 7 Tools of Life, Be Useful, 7 Tools of Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And he was super useful. Like, it's a super good book. I'm only halfway through it.
Nice.
And it talks about vision and creating a clear vision and kind of how you can find what you're passionate about, what you want to work towards. And so that'd be something we could talk about in another episode.
For sure.
I think is super cool.
Yeah.
And where I'm narrowing my vision. But the drawbacks of this challenge are, one, it's balancing a lot, especially working like a 9 to 5, because a lot of people that you might have seen do 75 hard, they don't work a full-time job or whatever. Like if I done it last summer, I would have had a lot more time than if I did it this summer. But I would say I'm lack of sleep the first couple weeks and too much caffeine. So I was relying on I was relying on artificial energy, I guess. And so I was actually had this like first couple of weeks, I was getting such little sleep and so much like stress and caffeine that my right eye started twitching.
Really?
Yeah. So like during the challenge, my right eye would start twitching, and I was like looked it up, and I was like, "What is this from?" Because I was kind of concerned.
Yeah.
Like, you would think you're kind of concerned.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is due to not sleeping enough, too much stress, or too much caffeine. And I was like, well, I'm experiencing all of them. So that was kind of that. But yeah, the workouts are going well. Just the small things are kind of tough too. It's like tracking water. It's not hard, but it's like inconvenient.
Yeah.
Same with like checking off a workout that's 45 minutes. Like I hit one that's 30 minutes, but now I got to go
do something
finish
else.
something for 15 minutes, abs or whatever.
Right.
So all in all, I would say it's developing a discipline that I've been like looking for so long, and I can't wait to see how it translates to my life after.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep all like the checklist or everything, but I'm going to take a lot of the habits, a lot of the lessons, and implement them in my real life.
Yeah, dude, and I think that is the basis of it. You know, obviously doing that for your whole life, maybe for some people, but I feel like for most is not sustainable. But I think it's more about the discipline and the fact that you're willing to push yourself. And dude, I've just seen, even in the short time that we've been running together, your times are going crazy, dude. You run the other day like a 7:30?
Yeah. I got out hot. It was 7:17 average pace. But I got to turn that around and say to you, dude, like same thing to you. Your pace, you were 8:22. And when we first went, dude, I think we were probably over 10.
I think we were.
We were over 10. And I remember we like had just met and we were pushing at the end, and you were like, dude, he was like, I'm going to slow down. I was like, dude, we're right here. I was like, we're right here. You're not stopping.
Facts.
And we got through that. And since then, we haven't stopped on a mile yet, except for the other day when I was like dying after
that was different.
That was different.
Yeah. But, 12 miles in, you can, you know.
Yeah, dude, I hit a wall. But, yeah, dude, we haven't stopped at a single run, and we're getting faster every week. And that just shows, even, I guess, what do you say? Well, you're running twice a week, 3 times a week?
Yeah. No, probably 2 to 3 times, you know.
2 to 3 times a week.
I'll run outside of the run club.
And that just shows, like, consistency.
Yep.
It
adds
proves
up.
results.
Yep.
It adds up. It proves results. And then I've been a little more like 4 to 5, but even our slower paces are starting to feel like our easy paces are faster than our paces we used to like run at. Not even easy paces.
For sure. Yeah, that's a good point, dude. Because I think we were definitely at like 10:30 that first one. We were, So to see how far we've come in just a few months, like
just crazy. A couple months, and on top of that, it's like we're in the middle of Florida heat, which I will say, being from Georgia, I'm from a very hot location. Like Georgia's a hot state, but I got down here and I was like, Georgia's just as hot as Florida, if not hotter, whatever. And then I keep saying that, and then like 3 weeks later, I come down here and feel the heat. Oh my gosh, just the humidity. It feels like you're just getting a warm, like gross, sweaty hug from someone. It's just It's just gross. It's suffocating, honestly.
It's like a sumo wrestler that just got done rolling around, just hugging you. Dude, and I was the same way. I was like, oh, dude, it's the same. They're right next to each other. It's the same thing, right? And I don't know what it is, dude, but you literally like 5 a.m. I was watching some reel or something, and it was this runner, right, like social media, right?
Yeah.
But this girl was running at 5 a.m. and it was already like 75 degrees. Whereas I feel like in Georgia, 5 a.m. during the summer is probably like 50, 60. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can beat the heat a little bit, but not here.
Yeah, not here at all. And so like, I guess we're looking forward, and it's like I've talked to a couple people who have said just the difference between this middle of summer running conditions versus like a couple months later is like 20 seconds off the time. And I guess that brings me to my point. So today I was looking up, hey, September 7th, that's when I'm running my half marathon.
Yeah.
And I was just like, let's see what the weather's going to look like, because I'm kind of banking on that it's going to get a little cooler.
Yeah.
And so I looked it up. It was supposed to be 88, which isn't going to be like the usual weather here where it's just like 95, sunny, and just humid.
That's still hot.
It's going to be a little better, but it's hot. And so that's about 3.5 weeks out.
Okay.
And so my original goal was 2 hours, which we had talked about.
Yep.
And then I was running with a couple guys the other day, and they're like, 2 hours, bro. Like, that's like a fallback goal. Like, you got to set like an actual goal. And I was like, dude, what do you mean? That's tough. And so they're like, nah, 1:45, which is an 8-minute pace, which honestly is pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
But I think I can challenge myself, try to do that.
Yeah.
I got 2 more long runs this week. I got Friday, if you want to join.
We'll see.
You can join for a few. But we got 9 to 11 miles. I don't know yet. And then I'm going to go on like some sort of just zone 2.
Okay.
And then the next week I'm going to go pacing run where I go 1 mile easy, 4 miles at half pace, 1 mile easy, 4 miles at half, and then 1 mile easy.
Okay.
And then taper for 2 weeks. Hopefully go crush the half.
That'll be solid, dude. I'm really excited to see, as you're doing the work, you know what I mean? You're actually prepping. So I'm excited to see you probably get close to that 145, 140-ish. I think you can do it, bro.
Yeah, it's a challenge goal. So and that was a good point. I kind of talking to one of my buddies the other day. He was like, hey, have a fallback goal, but have a challenge goal, which I kind of like that. So you're always shooting at something higher.
Facts.
And if you miss, it's like what do they say? If you shoot for the stars and you miss, you're still gonna land on the moon.
Something like that.
Or maybe if you shoot for them, I don't know.
Whichever one's higher, you're trying to. I get what you're saying.